Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this program. I think President Cyril Ramaphosa should be commended for taking decisive action in a situation where clearly the institutional problems of SARS are beginning to manifest themselves as a fiscal problem for the country. We have, according to the budget figures of February 2018, we have a revenue shortfall estimated at more than 42 billion rand. That was 30 billion rand in 2016-17 and 11.8 billion rand the year before. And since 2015, every year we saw that the National Treasury had to make downward adjustments to the revenue target. So if you have a revenue service that cannot deliver on its primary mandate year after year, it becomes a fiscal problem for the country. And if we look at the budget numbers for 2018, we will pay something like 185 billion rands this year for our debt service costs. That is the interest on our existing debt. Our debt to GDP ratio is nearing 60%. So clearly we're running out of the fiscal space to go and borrow more money to get us out of this hole. And I think there's a realization between the National Treasury and the Presidency that if you have a revenue service that cannot deliver on its primary mandate, regardless of all the other scandals that we've seen in recent weeks, it's a situation that needs urgent intervention. And I think President Ramaphosa did the right thing with the decisive action he took last night.
As someone who's got insight into the workings of SARS, I just need to ask you, someone like the Commissioner is not the only person who works at SARS. How much of a role then will he play in what you've just described and what the President described as the lack of trust that people have in the revenue service?
The Commissioner is the accounting officer for the institution. It is to the Commissioner that taxpayers and the public look for confidence, for integrity, for credibility. And when you look at the track record of this Commissioner, there are serious question marks about many of the actions he instituted. Now, the previous guests on the insert referred to the matter of Mr. Ivan Pillay and Mr. Johan van Logrenberg. They were two individuals who are part of a far larger group of people who served SARS with distinction for many years, for close to 2 decades. They were hounded out of the institution. They still face criminal charges. They received notice Friday 2 weeks ago that they have to present themselves in court, the summons by the NPA. And those charges stem directly from a criminal complaint SARS brought in May 2015, and the complainant being Mr. Tom Moyane. So many individuals like that who were committed, honest, hard-working public servants have been hounded out of the institution since 2014. They had to defend themselves in disciplinary processes and in the case of Pillay and van Logrenberg before court. And they had to incur significant and substantial legal costs in order to clear their name and to defend themselves against charges that I believe are absolutely frivolous and politically motivated. So the damage to the institution under Mr. Moyane's term as Commissioner has been substantial, and I think it's going to take a long time to rebuild the institution and get the necessary skills back. Many people with long-standing careers and expertise in tax administration have left SARS in 2014, 2015 until now. And the loss of skills is significant. And I think a lot of hard work lies ahead to try and rebuild some of the capabilities that SARS used to have.
Okay, you left SARS in an acrimonious manner. You took them to the CCMA. Tom Moyane wouldn't come to your CCMA hearing. Do you think that in any way affects how you see these issues, or are the issues such that you can be impartial about them, and because other people are complaining about them, you can add a voice to former Commissioner Tom Moyane and what's taking place at SARS?
Look, I'm not going to argue impartiality on my side. I think there's sufficient evidence and information in the public domain for any member of the public to objectively judge what SARS used to be and what it is now, how it used to perform and how it performs now, and how it used to interact with taxpayers versus their experiences currently. We've seen the tax ombud, that's an independent structure led by Judge Bernard Nwepe, make findings that there's an escalation in the number of complaints of taxpayers not receiving their refunds and their VAT refunds in particular. We've seen last week how impatient and almost hurtful, if I can use that word, MPs on the Standing Committee of Finance have become towards SARS and Mr. Moyane on the Makwakwa matter, where they don't get proper answers, where they don't have access to information which should be made public to an oversight body like a parliamentary committee. And the list of such instances should be sufficient evidence to inform anyone in a more objective way than I perhaps can as to the state of SARS at the moment. But ultimately the test is, what experience do taxpayers have of this institution? When they submit a tax return, how long before they get their money back if a refund is due to them? Are they frustrated in the process? And some of the earlier gains, have those been eroded? Those are questions members of the public can answer for themselves.
Adrian Lackay, thanks so much for your time on SABC News. He's a former SARS spokesperson joining us live from our Pretoria studios there.